Hi, let's talk about the Aphrodite Collab. Almost 4 years ago, there was a certain animation collab that I was a part of. I collaborated with some very talented and popular animators, notably Kitty Dog, as her version of the collab has 500,000 views. Today, I'm going to be talking about the damage that this project has caused in the moment and how I feel about it now that I'm older and have reflected on the situation. For some reason, mob mentality is a huge problem in the art and animation community. Cancel culture is a huge thing in it. Of course, some examples of this are justifiable, outing some horrible people and their immoral behaviors and actions. But what happens when following the crowd has consequences towards someone who didn't really do anything wrong? While we were making this collab and in the group chat for it, I was really excited to be a part of it. Not only were some of my friends and people I looked up to at the time were in the collab, but I haven't done as many collabs beforehand. I knew that having some popular animators in this collab would mean that my work would be seen by a lot of people, but I definitely was not expecting the outcome, nor did I really care at the time because I wanted to create something with some of my friends. If you haven't seen the collab when it first came out or are unaware what generally happened, hi, I'm Leilonix. I was a part of the big Aphrodite collab hosted by Fried Chicken 420. During this collab, I got an insane amount of hate and even harassment directed towards my art. I was completely swarmed with comments on all of my videos saying how I needed to improve my art without any actual criticism for the most part. The things I heard most was, "You draw like a toddler and you completely ruined the video. You don't deserve to be a part of it." This situation has honestly caused me a lot of trauma, and I'm still not fully healed from it, as I still feel uneasy while writing this. But it's almost been 4 years, and I feel the need to finally talk about what happened. I want to note that everyone who was in this collab with me was supportive towards me, and they deserve a lot for being there for me. All of the harassment I got were just from random people online who had no connection with any of the collaborators. April 25th, 2024. This was the last time that I visited this script. It's now been 4 years, closer to 5 actually, with the collab being posted on August 2nd of 2020. It's now May of 2025, and I still haven't fully recovered from the comments I received from this collaboration. Honestly, when I start to think about the whole thing, I still feel really anxious and gross about myself. The comments on Kitty Dog's version are disabled for some obvious reasons, and I deleted every negative comment I got on my posts. I wish that I had more proof of how severe this was, but I can't say much other than these few screenshots of me talking to a friend about the situation and showing them a comment or two. Honestly, the only thing I can really say is that if you were there when the collab first came out, you likely know how bad it was at the time. I'm not trying to sound dramatic or anything, but this has genuinely haunted me for years. I'm going to put the screenshots on screen now and blur out any names other than mine. Every time I try to go back to write the script, I end up with this association and basically with tears in my eyes. So I really apologize if I don't remember things properly or if this is just sloppy in general. For a while, I thought that this collab happened when I was 15, but I did the math wrong and I was apparently 16. I know that my art wasn't as good as it could have been for those standards. However, despite the fact that art is my special interest, I started taking it more seriously when I was around 12. That's when I knew I wanted to actually pursue it. However, I wasn't really consistent with drawing due to hyperfixations in school and some very personal issues going on in my life. I didn't really have the chance to really focus on the fundamentals such as anatomy, color theory, etc. All that I cared about was that I was doing something that made me happy during some really rough times. Looking back, I think that's why the negativity affected me so much, because I was putting something out there that was so personal to me, it made me feel vulnerable. Please keep in mind, I'm autistic and I have had some very severe trauma throughout my childhood. Creating art and making up stories was my escape. It meant everything to me, and it still does. I was only 16, and sure, the other artists were around my age. Some a little older, and I think 1 or 2 was younger. I don't really remember. But due to my trauma and disabilities, I feel like my mentality has always been repressed by a few years. This is something that's very personal and something I shouldn't put online without reason, but I really need to just talk about this and hopefully move on from what happened a few years ago. This is something I would like to put behind me and move forward and learn to love myself and what I do versus being ashamed of everything due to one event. If you haven't noticed, the script is all over the place when it comes to when I'm actually motivated to write about it. That's why I'm putting timestamps on the screen to show how long it actually took to make this video. Like I said, this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, but it's really difficult. It's honestly a really jarring situation, and I feel crazy that it happened to me. Despite having over 500,000 views on the most popular version of the collab, I'm still very much a small creator. I didn't expect to blow up from it, of course, but for a while I've been slightly insecure about my small following despite my art being seen by so many people. It made me feel like I wasn't worth anyone's time of day, and I was questioning if my art was really that bad. I really do want to emphasize that I was 16 when this happened, as you can see from this old screenshot of my Instagram account in 2020. I stated that I was 16 on my bio. My art wasn't really good, but I still put my heart and soul into it. I know a lot of really talented artists who are younger than me, and I feel like part of the reason why I wasn't improving was because I didn't have many inspirations outside a niche group that were a group of like 3 people who I looked up to. I wasn't given any proper resources or much inspiration back then because I didn't know how to look for it. I feel like I've been improving a lot over these past few years because I found my own spaces through Instagram and art-related Discord servers, where I can admire other people's work and get inspired off of them. I honestly think that inspiration is very important but underrated. As painful as it is to genuinely think about the situation and talk about it, I feel that it's necessary to talk about so I can leave things in the past. A lot of the harassment that I got from the collab was for the last part of the collab. I thought it would fit the animation well, as the original meme that we inspired the collab off of was kind of in that nature too. All I did was draw them kissing. I also assumed that the other collaborators would follow the same kind of format that the original inspiration was in. There was one collaborator who made their part a little bit suggestive, but they decided to change it for the final release because they didn't like the animation. So their suggestive version of the meme didn't make it into the video. I genuinely assumed that everyone else was going to do something a little more on the 13+ side too, which is probably why my 2 parts look very out of place. I never made the connection that my parts of the animation looked different until I got the harassment, and it was way too late. I was so confused when I was getting harassed, and it honestly broke my heart because I wanted to be just as good as my inspirations. I was so close to quitting art. I remember one night sobbing to myself over it, and I was about to rip up all of my drawings. I was venting to the people in the collab, and they had to convince me otherwise and that I would improve, and I'm very grateful for that. I struggle a lot with my self-esteem and ego. One minute, I'm really proud of my work, as I should be, because I put so much love and effort into my work. However, no matter how hard I try, it will never be perfect. And that's okay, because nothing is perfect. But at the same time, I have some really rough moments where I feel completely and utterly worthless and exhausted, and every now and then I will question why I continue to do art when I feel like it's not up to my standards. I feel like a lot of us as humans put things that we enjoy on a pedestal, which is fine, but I don't understand why we shun and try to destroy something we don't like if it's harmless. I've never been one to spread hate. If I don't like how someone draws something, I can understand that it's my opinion and that art is subjective. My opinion does not need to be heard all the time, especially if there's not really a good reason for it. I wouldn't want to destroy someone else's happiness just by saying that something that they love to create is horrible in my opinion, and then they should find something else to do. I never understood why people believe that they have the right to intrude on other people's creativity. This is why I'm personally against unwanted criticism. If an artist is open to criticism, that is just as valid. But me, I'm not. I am genuinely traumatized from the harassment I have received, and it's just not helpful for me. Nobody was being respectful towards me. It wasn't trying to be nice about their critique. A lot of people honestly use constructive criticism as an excuse to pick apart my work and bully me. Hey, so editing Nico here, Little small update. I found a few other comments on the video that were saying how they were uncomfortable and like with my part and just a bunch of like, they all said basically the same thing, but I'm gonna show these few comments on screen. I genuinely felt like I was really felt like it would come off as me exaggerating because I didn't have proof. But I found some more comments on Cookie Paw's unlisted video. So I have a little bit of more proof. Yay, here it is. I feel like without proof, it sounds like I'm exaggerating or making things up to be worse than it was. But at the same time, this is what I experienced, even if it wasn't as bad as someone else thinks it was. That doesn't mean that it didn't affect me to this degree, because the way our brains handle things and trauma varies heavily from person to person. One thing can be traumatic for one person, while another person wouldn't be traumatized by the same exact thing as the first guy. Art means everything to me, and despite everything that happened, I don't want to stop creating. Making animations, however, has been stressful lately, and I find that I work best with what I have going for me now, which is occasional animations when I feel motivated. I can't tell if this is a trauma response. Just kidding. Unless... In 2023, I decided to branch off into game development, and I'm so proud of myself for what I've achieved with it. I don't have a big audience, but that's okay. A lot of people in the art and animation community tend to forget the reason why they started in the first place. People start comparing their following to other artists, and they get discouraged and distracted at the fact that they started to create art for themselves, not for a big audience. A lot of famous artists didn't start to paint or draw or create just to assume they would get famous. There's a lot of creative minds within a bunch of different genres, and not everyone is going to get an audience, even if they deserve one. I fall guilty of this mindset a lot, to be honest, but I'm still figuring it out. I'm still young, and I'm learning and improving every day with every new drawing and every new project. How does a single random internet stranger define you and your work as a whole? They don't know anything about you or your story, so they shouldn't have any expectations for someone that they don't even know. Everything that happened to me during the collab was very unfortunate, and I don't believe I deserved it as a neurodivergent teenager. But there really isn't anything that I can do or change the fact that it happened. All I can do now is strive to move forward in a positive direction and just keep being me. I struggle with my sense of identity and purpose due to a disorder I have that I don't wish to talk about publicly, but I'm improving with my art and how I learn, and that's all I could hope for. Nobody is obligated to like or understand my art, and that's honestly okay. In an ideal world, I would love to be able to inspire a bunch of people with my art and stories, but I'm happy at the end of the day as long as I make someone smile, and hey, that person could just be me. With social media, we lose a lot of touch with our reality. We see mass-produced content that's perfect, and it's made us believe that that's the norm and the only thing that's acceptable. Beginner artists hardly stand a chance because there's a huge disconnect of remembering that everyone has to start somewhere. Some of my biggest inspirations were never perfect, especially when they first started. But what matters is that they improved and loved what they were doing. Also, improvement isn't linear, just like a lot of things in life. You can't strive for positive change and progress without struggling and learning through it, but it typically gets easier as time goes on. Perfectionism as a concept doesn't exist for us as humans. It's an ideology that we look up to and try to reach, but what defines perfect anyway? I don't mean to sound like a broken record or like I'm trying to give a motivational speech, but I've learned a lot from this, and I just want to share some of my thoughts and insight, even if we disagree on some things. It's always good to have different perspectives. I want to thank you for watching this video and letting me share my thoughts on this situation that has haunted me for years. But I think it's time to take this punch and pick myself back up. I would really appreciate it if you would share this video around, give it some love and all that, because I feel like this video can resonate with some other artists. And I want to tell them that through all of the hate, everything will be okay in the end. I was literally swarmed with hate comments left and right, and it was to a point where I once thought that quitting art entirely would be the best option. But I didn't. And you want to know why? It's because deep down, I knew that I wanted to do it for myself and improve at my own pace. I always have one of those deep questions in the back of my mind. If you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, what would you tell them? I'm unsure what I would even say, but I know that the look on the younger version of myself would break me, but in a really bittersweet way. All I know is that the younger version of me would be proud of me right now, even though I still struggle with some stuff. I've been through a lot throughout my life, and I know that a younger version of me would have his eyes filled with something that he struggled with, hope. I know for a fact that he would look up to me and be so proud of me, not only for my improvement and accomplishments as an artist and game developer, but as a person. I've made some really crappy mistakes in my life as a kid, but that's just honestly a part of life, and that's how you grow. It's important to recognize your mistakes, but also to cut yourself some slack when, you improve and you can see that you become a better person. But all of that is a different topic for a different video, which I probably will not make because I don't think I've done anything too hard. Anyways, I would love to hear some of your thoughts, especially if you were there to see all the hate comments I got in the video. Honestly, that would feel pretty validating for me. It's hard to explain yourself in a serious manner without proof or witnesses. I have a bunch of projects that are in the works that are coming out soon, and I'm really proud and excited to eventually show them off to you guys when they're ready. Take this video how you will, whether I inspired you and touched your heart in some way, or if you're just someone who's listening without a deeper feeling towards it. I don't mind either way. This is just something that's very personal to me, and I feel like it's hard for creators to sit down and have a genuine conversation. With all that being said, I hope you have a great day, night, week, whatever floats your boat. I'm excited to move forward.